The sun blazes over my quiet suburban neighborhood, casting long, golden streaks across manicured lawns and freshly paved driveways. It's the kind of place where everything looks perfect, at least on the surface. White picket fences, oversized SUVs, and families that pretend they never argue. A place where neighborly means a forced smile and a passive-aggressive note instead of a friendly conversation. I moved here 6 months ago, fresh off a big promotion at my cybersecurity firm. I worked my ass off for years, pulling all-nighters, sacrificing weekends, and ignoring the snide comments about how I was lucky to land such a high-paying job. Luck had nothing to do with it. I earned my success. And this house? It was a symbol of that. But the moment I moved in, I felt it, that unspoken tension. The lingering stares as I unloaded my boxes. The hesitant greetings from my new neighbors, their eyes scanning me like I didn't belong. Like I was an intruder. Then there was her.
Karen.
I don't even know her real name. No one does. She's the self-proclaimed queen of the HOA, the type of woman who believes her property taxes give her the right to dictate how everyone else lives. She struts around in pastel-colored blouses, nose perpetually scrunched like she's smelling something unpleasant. And ever since I moved in, I've been the unpleasant thing in her otherwise pristine world. It started small. A warning letter in my mailbox about my grass being half an inch too high before I even had a chance to mow it. Side eyes at the grocery store. The time she accidentally forgot to invite me to the neighborhood block party, but made sure to mention it in front of me. Petty things. Things I ignored. Until last week. I came home late from work, exhausted, only to find a white BMW parked halfway across my driveway.
Not next to it.
Not slightly over. Dead in the center, blocking me from pulling in. My first thought? Maybe it was a mistake. Someone visiting a neighbor. Maybe they'd be right out. I knocked on a few doors. No one claimed it. After an hour of waiting, I finally had to park 3 houses down and walk in the dark to my own home. The next morning, the car was still there. That's when I saw her.
Karen.
Standing across the street, arms crossed, a smug little smirk on her face. And that's when I knew this wasn't a mistake. This was a message. And I had no idea just how far she was willing to take it. At first, I tell myself I'm overreacting. Maybe Karen's just a control freak, one of those people who gets off on enforcing arbitrary rules. But as the days pass, the car remains parked right in the middle of my driveway, and I start to realize this isn't about a rule.
This is about me.
I call the HOA. They say it's a neighbor dispute and not their problem. I call the tow company. They say they can't remove it because it's on private property. My private property. That's when I see Karen again. She's standing in her front yard, watering her already perfect lawn, eyes flicking toward me like she's waiting for a reaction. Like she's enjoying this. I walk over, keeping my voice even. Hey, Karen. You wouldn't happen to know whose car that is, would you? She tilts her head, feigning innocence. Oh, that? Yeah, it belongs to my nephew. He's staying with me for a while. I glance at the BMW, then back at her. Do you think he could move it? It's blocking my driveway. Her lips curl into a smirk. Oh, I wish I could help, but he's out of town. Left the car there for safekeeping. You know how it is. People steal things all the time these days. She gives me a pointed look, as if I'm the danger she's referring to. I feel my jaw tighten. It's illegal to block someone's driveway. She waves a dismissive hand. Oh, I checked with the HOA. Turns out, your driveway technically extends onto community property by a few inches. So, really, you don't have full control over it. She flashes me a saccharine smile. I love how these rules work, don't you? I can feel the heat rising in my chest. She knows exactly what she's doing. This isn't just about a car. It's about control. About power. About putting me in my place. I force a smile. Got it. I'll figure something out. I turn and walk away, my fists clenched at my sides. The moment I step inside my house, I grab my laptop and start digging. I pull up county property records, HOA bylaws, anything I can find. And that's when I uncover something interesting. Karen isn't just the head of the HOA. She is the HOA. Turns out, the board was dissolved years ago, leaving her in charge of enforcing community guidelines however she sees fit. There's no oversight, no checks and balances. She's been running this neighborhood like her own personal fiefdom for years. And now, she's made it her mission to get rid of me. I don't have full proof yet, but I know one thing for sure. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. The next morning, I decide I've had enough. I walk straight to Karen's front door and ring the bell. I hear the chime echo inside, followed by the slow, deliberate click of the lock. When the door swings open, Karen stands there in her floral cardigan, a steaming cup of coffee in hand, looking as if she's been expecting me. "Back so soon," she says sweetly. I keep my tone measured. "Karen, I need that car moved.
Now."
She exhales dramatically. "I already told you my nephew isn't here. I wish I could help, but I checked with the county records." I interrupt. "My driveway is fully on my property. Your claim about community property is a lie." For a brief second, something flickers in her eyes, something sharp and calculating. Then, just as quickly, it's gone. "Oh dear," she says, pressing a hand to her chest. "Are you accusing me of lying? That's quite a serious allegation." She glances around, her voice suddenly loud enough for the nearby neighbors to hear. "I understand that certain people have trouble following our community rules, but that's no reason to be aggressive." My stomach tightens. She's playing the role perfectly, the fragile, innocent homeowner being harassed by the angry outsider. A few people across the street pause their morning routines, watching. I see it in their faces. The doubt. The assumption. I know this game. I've seen it played before. I take a deep breath. The car needs to be moved, or I'll have it towed. Karen's expression barely shifts, but her grip on her coffee mug tightens. "Good luck with that," she says, and closes the door in my face. I do call a tow truck. When they arrive an hour later, I'm standing outside, waiting. The driver, a burly guy with a thick mustache, gets out and takes one look at the situation. "Sorry, man. Can't tow from private property without the HOA's approval." I clench my teeth. "The HOA is the problem." He shrugs. "Then you're out of luck." And just like that, he drives away. The next few days are a nightmare. Karen's tactics escalate. She starts sending me violation notices for everything. My trash cans are visible from the street. My porch light is too bright. My lawn is too dry. I see her chatting with the other neighbors, whispering, smirking. And then one morning, I wake up to something worse. My tires are slashed. All 4 of them. I stare at my car, my heart pounding. The message is clear. This isn't just a power play anymore. This is a threat. I march straight to Karen's house and pound on her door. She answers with a satisfied smile. "Something wrong." I don't even bother pretending. "You did this." Karen gasps, her hand flying to her mouth in mock horror. "Me? Oh, dear, are you accusing me again? You really should be careful with those baseless claims." I step closer, lowering my voice. "You think you're untouchable, don't you?" She leans in, just enough for only me to hear. "I am untouchable." She winks. And for the first time, I realize she actually believes it. That's when I decide, if she wants to play dirty, I'll play smarter. That night, I start gathering evidence. I install security cameras around my house. I set up motion detectors. I even dig through public records and old HOA complaints. What I find is worse than I expected. Karen has been running scams for years, fining people for fake violations, illegally foreclosing on homes, even selling community land without permission. And now, she's about to regret underestimating me. I wake up early, double-check my security footage, and gather my evidence. Today is the day. Karen thinks she's untouchable. She thinks she can intimidate me into backing down. What she doesn't know is that I've been playing a different game entirely. I step outside, stretching deliberately, making sure she sees me. Sure enough, she's already out there, standing by her pristine lawn, watching like a hawk. She sips her coffee, oozing smugness. She thinks she's already won.
Perfect.
I dial a number. 5 minutes later, a tow truck rumbles down the street and pulls up to my driveway. Karen's eyes widen. The driver steps out, a different guy this time, younger, sharper. I'd done my research, found a company that doesn't bow to HOA politics. Morning, the driver says, tipping his hat. You the homeowner? I am. I motion to the BMW. That car is blocking my property. I have documentation proving it's unauthorized. Karen, who had been silent until now, suddenly springs to life. Excuse me? Excuse me. She marches over, putting herself between the tow truck and the car. You can't do this. This is my nephew's vehicle. He has every right to park here. The tow truck driver glances at me. I nod. I pull out my phone, open my county property records, and show him the exact lot lines. As you can see, my driveway is fully on my property. This car is trespassing. Karen scoffs. That's ridiculous. I already spoke to the HOA. You don't have authority here. I smile. Actually, I do. And more importantly, so does the law. I pull up another document, an official notice I had filed with the city earlier this week. A legal request for vehicle removal, backed by proof of obstruction and the refusal of the vehicle owner to move it. Karen's face turns red. You think this means anything? You have no idea who you're messing with. I am the HOA. I tilt my head. Are you? I tap my phone screen again. The security footage from last night plays, clear as day. Karen sneaking across my driveway with a knife, slashing my tires. The color drains from her face. Behind us, neighbors start to gather, drawn by the commotion. I see them whispering, eyes flicking between Karen and the video. Karen stammers, her voice higher now. That's not you edited that. I pull out another piece of paper. This is a police report. I filed it this morning. Guess what? Vandalism and property damage are felonies in this state. Karen lets out a short, nervous laugh. You can't prove it was me. Actually, I say, I can. I turn my phone around, showing a second angle. One from across the street, where my neighbor, a guy Karen had fined into silence months ago, had let me install a second camera. This angle catches her face perfectly. The crowd murmurs. Someone gasps. Karen's composure cracks. This is harassment. You're the problem here. You don't belong in this neighborhood. There it is. The mask finally slips. I step forward, voice calm but firm. No, Karen. You're the problem.
And now?
You're finished. The sound of sirens fills the air. Her face twists in horror as a police car pulls up, stopping just behind the tow truck. 2 officers step out. Ma'am, one of them says, looking at Karen. We need to have a word. And just like that, the queen of the HOA realizes her reign is over. Karen's arrogance doesn't crack all at once. No, she fights it, clings to it, like a drowning woman grasping at air. This is outrageous, she shrieks, stepping away from the approaching officers. I have done nothing wrong. This man is harassing me. He's been stalking me, recording me without my permission. One of the officers, a tall, no-nonsense black woman with a badge that reads Sergeant Reynolds, folds her arms. Ma'am, we just reviewed the footage he submitted with his report. It clearly shows you vandalizing his vehicle. Karen's face twitches. That footage is doctored. It's AI. You can't trust anything on the internet these days. Sergeant Reynolds sighs and glances at me. You said there was a second camera? I nod and gesture toward my neighbor, Mr. Patel, who has stepped forward cautiously, phone in hand. He's an older Indian man, soft-spoken, the kind of person who's spent years trying to avoid conflict.
But now?
He's looking straight at Karen, his face set in quiet determination. I recorded everything from my security camera, he says, voice steady. She slashed his tires. I saw it myself. Karen wheels on him, eyes wild. You liar. Mr. Patel doesn't flinch. Instead, he turns his phone's screen to the officers, playing back the video. From a different angle, clearer than ever.
Karen.
Kneeling by my tires. A knife in her hand. The crowd murmurs again. A few people, Ones who had always blindly followed Karen take a step back, their faces shifting from doubt to realization. I was framed. Karen stammers. This is a conspiracy. You people are ganging up on me. You people. The words hang in the air like a toxic cloud. The neighbors exchange glances. Some of them, ones who had probably defended her in the past, now look uncomfortable. Sergeant Reynolds raises an eyebrow. Ma'am, do you even hear yourself? Karen's desperation spikes into rage. I am the head of this HOA. I make the rules here. You can't just take the word of outsiders over me. That does it. A murmur ripples through the crowd, but this time it's different. It's not whispers of doubt. It's whispers of disgust. Mr. Patel clears his throat. That's funny, he says. Because I checked the HOA bylaws this morning. Karen spins to face him again, her expression faltering. You're not actually the HOA head, he continues. The board was dissolved, yes. But according to the community charter, that means HOA authority reverts to all homeowners, not just you. Karen's mouth opens and closes, her face rapidly shifting between shock and fury. And I checked the financial records, I add, holding up my phone. Dozens of homeowners here have been illegally fined by you. That money? It didn't go to the community. It went to your bank account. The crowd erupts in hushed voices. Some people nod. Others pull out their phones, checking emails and notices they had dismissed for years. Karen looks around, realizing for the first time that she's alone. None of you understand how hard I worked to make this neighborhood what it is, she screeches. I kept the wrong people out. I made sure our property values stayed high. And this is the thanks I get. A woman in the crowd, one I recognize as Lisa, who lives 3 houses down, steps forward. You fine me $500 for having one Halloween decoration out a day late. And you tried to evict me for having my grandkids over too often, an elderly black man says. Karen stumbles back. I was just following the rules. No, I say, stepping closer. You were making them up.
And now?
You're finally facing the consequences. The tow truck driver, who has been waiting patiently this whole time, clears his throat. So, do I take the car, or? Sergeant Reynolds smirks.
Yeah.
You take the car. Karen lets out a strangled sound as the driver moves past her, hooks up the BMW, and starts hauling it away.
Wait.
You can't, he has no right. But she's cut off by the next sound. Handcuffs clicking. She freezes. Sergeant Reynolds tightens the cuffs around her wrists. Karen Thompson, you're under arrest for vandalism, harassment, and fraud. You have the right to remain silent. Karen screams. A full-on, rage-fueled tantrum, kicking at the air, thrashing as the officers hold her steady. This isn't happening. You can't do this to me. But it is happening. And as the officers lead her to the squad car, the neighborhood watches. Silent. Judging. Witnessing. The reign of Karen is over. Karen is gone. By the next morning, the neighborhood is buzzing with the news. Some people pretend they never supported her, while others, like Mr. Patel and Lisa, walk with a newfound confidence. For the first time in years, people feel free. And me? I step outside, coffee in hand, and take a deep breath. The air feels lighter. The BMW is gone. My driveway is clear. And best of all, I don't have to see Karen's smug face watching my every move. Her downfall was swift and brutal. Turns out, my evidence was just the tip of the iceberg. Once the police started digging, they found everything. The fake fines, the embezzled HOA money, even shady real estate deals where she forced struggling homeowners to sell their properties to her at dirt cheap prices. It didn't take long for the news to get involved. I watch one of the reports on my phone while sitting on my porch. A clean-cut reporter stands outside Karen's house, now dark and empty, detailing her crimes. Words like fraud, grand larceny, and wire fraud flash across the screen. Karen is looking at serious jail time. And the best part? The HOA board is being reinstated. A real board this time. One with checks and balances. One where people like Karen can never take control again. I glance across the street and catch Mr. Patel watching me. He raises a hand in greeting. I smile and nod back. A week later, the neighborhood holds a meeting in the community park. It's the first time I've seen so many people gathered together, without Karen's shadow looming over them. Lisa takes the stage first. For years, we let one person control our lives. We let her bully us, fine us, make us afraid of stepping out of line. She pauses, scanning the crowd. That's over now. There's a ripple of agreement. Heads nodding. People murmuring. Then she turns to me. And we really need to thank our neighbor, she gestures toward me, for having the courage to stand up when the rest of us didn't. Scattered applause breaks out. I shift awkwardly. I didn't do this for recognition. I did it because it had to be done. Still, it feels good to be seen. Lisa hands me the microphone. I clear my throat. I won't lie. When I moved here, I felt like an outsider. Like I didn't belong. I glance around. But after everything that happened, I realized something. Karen was the outsider. Not because of where she came from, but because of what she stood for: hate, division, power. The crowd listens, silent and thoughtful. But the rest of us? I continue. We belong here. And it's up to us to make sure that no one like her ever gets power again. More applause. This time, I let myself smile. That night, I sit on my porch, watching the street. For the first time since I moved in, I feel at peace. No more bogus violation notices. No more slashed tires. No more feeling like I have to watch my back. A cool breeze drifts through the neighborhood. A few houses down, I see kids playing on the sidewalk, something they never did when Karen was around, always ready to find someone for disturbing the peace. A voice pulls me from my thoughts. Hey. I turn. Mr. Patel is standing at the edge of my driveway, holding a small plate. I made some samosas. He hesitates. Figured I'd share, since you helped all of us. I chuckle and take the plate. Thanks, Mr. Patel. He nods, then adds, and call me Raj. I smile. Thanks, Raj. He heads back home. I take a bite of the samosa. It's warm, flaky, and for the first time in a long time, everything feels right,